Good morning. Thank you all so much for being here on a painful day for this city, more dramatically for our brothers and sisters in the city of Dallas and for America. We're standing here today representing each one of us, communities, but most importantly, our common humanity, who we are and what moves us. As parents, as brothers and sisters, as people with titles, chief, mayor, commission president, superstars, whoever it is around us, we lose those titles for a moment to try to remind ourselves of the pain that we feel in the events that we've seen this week. We just had an extraordinarily powerful meeting, one in which walls came down, boundaries and barriers didn't exist, and for a moment we grieved commonly for the lives that have been lost. The lives that were lost in Dallas of 5 officers who, as you'll hear, some of our brothers and sisters here reminded us that police officers are human beings. Their parents, their mothers and fathers who kiss their children goodbye. And there are spouses and children who today don't have their parents coming home. And that pain is something that we feel in too many parts of America where violence is visited, where somebody wonders whether they might lose their life with the mother of their child and their child in the car at the same time. We might ask where we look for moments of hope and for light. I have to say, we had folks that were coming down here today to express their pain, and they didn't know that we had a police graduation. And sometimes God works in mysterious ways, but they witnessed our newest class of brave angels, people who graduated from high schools in South Los Angeles and the East Side and the San Fernando Valley, who probably have connections and have seen firsthand violence, maybe even lost in their family, people just as we have up here. And the power of this moment is to ask what we do with it, whether we as a country come together and figure out that common ground, whether we burn bridges down or whether we build them up. I have tremendous hope today that we can be in Los Angeles, a city that sets the pace not just for this country but for the world, that tells our stories, that says our songs, that writes our poems, that people look to, that this can be a city where we breathe some hope back into this country and into our democracy, to do the difficult work of continuing to make our promise in America work for everyone, of policing that is accountable and transparent, that de-escalates and saves lives and protects them, and a recognition that those 5 officers who were killed last night were doing just that, protecting our democracy. The mother who wrapped her arms around her teenage boy to protect him when the shots rang out, and who got a bullet in her body as she laid in the hospital praying for the recovery of the police officers who were there to protect her right to do that. We know how to disagree in this country. We know how to fight in this country. We know how to yell in this country, and we certainly know how to divide in this country. That's the easy work. But I call in our city and in our country on us to do the difficult work of learning that behind a badge there's a person and a family and a story, and that behind a young person on the street there's a story as well, and that all of us will only solve this cycle of violence if we do the hard work of making sure that the violence ends. It has to stop. Enough is enough today. So we are here also to answer the questions of the press. Brevemente también en español yo quiero decir que este es un momento para nuestra ciudad y nuestro país. Encontrar la paz, el amor, las cosas que son las fundaciones de este país. Juntos, miembros, exmiembros de bandillas aquí con oficiales del Departamento de Policía. I just said in Spanish, we have people who themselves have been gang members standing next to police officers. Think about the power of that for a moment. That if we can, on the streets, say that peace and love is the only way forward, the lives that we can save, lives we will never quantify. Pero es tiempo a encontrar la humanidad de nuestro país y esta ciudad, una ciudad de Los Angeles. Let me turn over to Chief Beck to say a few things, and I'm going to open up to our friends to say a couple other things too. Chief Beck.
Well, first, thank you all for being here. I stand here with my partners in public safety in Los Angeles. Doesn't look like my usual public safety press conference, does it? It's not. We are too violent a society. Violence begets violence. It is time to put down our arms and start the dialogue. We have to go forward from today as human beings, as Americans, as partners. Put aside the things that divide us and come together on the things that bind us. Our desire to leave Los Angeles a better place than we found it. Our mutual desire to have our kids grow up in a place where they cannot expect violence at every turn. To have policing that is respectful, that is protective, that is a true partner. I couldn't be prouder to stand in front of you today and say that we are on that path in Los Angeles. But it's going to take everybody. It's going to take leadership, and it's going to take hard work. Too many times America is divided now. We have got to find the things that bind us, and that we can all find that in public safety and in making this a better place for our kids. Now is that time. We must not repeat the mistakes of our recent past. Thank you all. I want to thank the game and Snoop for coming down with the Nation of Islam to have a dialogue with Los Angeles Police Department and the mayor about keeping Los Angeles safe, about the fact that this is a great city, that we are making progress, but we will not get to where we need to be unless we do it holding hands and working together. All of us, every one of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Now I'd like to ask the game to come forward to say some things. We had a discussion inside about hearing each other and feeling each other and understanding this moment. And I want to thank him for his courage coming down here today, marching alongside fellow Angelenos to be here in support of peace, to be here in support of love, and to find some common ground of work together. Please welcome the game.
Thank you, Mayor, everyone in this room. I just want to say that when I woke up this morning, I was uneasy. I was saddened, I was angered. I had so many different emotions flowing through my body that I didn't know which way to turn or which way to go. So I called on a dear friend of mine, somebody that I look up to, somebody that empowers everything that I wish to empower in the future, not knowing if I ever would, but someone I look up to in Snoop Dogg, and we had a conversation days prior to everything that's taking place, just on how we can better our communities from just Long Beach to Compton, and then hoping it would, spiral out to the neighboring cities, the Linwoods and the East LAs and Inglewoods and, other poverty-stricken neighborhoods from, Long Beach all the way into the valley. I never knew when I walked out of my door that I would run into Chief Beck or Mayor Garcetti or be in front of all these cameras today. But one thing that I did know is that I didn't leave out of my house this morning with malice in my heart, with hate in my heart, or with anger towards anyone, police officer or not. I know for a fact, growing up here in Los Angeles, in this city for the last 36 years of my life, that this is a city, a beautiful city, a city that can be one, that was one, and that can get back to being one. We all have children who we love. We all have families who we love. We all are children who are loved. And I think that without delegating something needs to be done for African Americans, or something needs to be done for Latinos, or something needs to be done for Caucasians or Asians or any other races that exist in this city, I think that we need to take responsibility as a human race and accept the role as peace givers and people that distribute love and change throughout this city. And I know for a fact, and history will reflect, that Los Angeles has been the flagship for negativity or positivity, and that the rest of the world and the rest of the cities and communities and states in America will follow suit with whatever Los Angeles is doing. And that's not to knock anybody else's strive for peace or anything, or any other body of law enforcement or any politicians worldwide. I'm just saying that this is a strong city that I'm from, that we embody as all races and different ranks, from the gangs in the streets to basketball coaches to teachers to law enforcement to mayors to politicians to cameramans, to the list goes on. I know that together that we can unify Los Angeles, and that will in change help unify other states and cities and communities that are poverty-stricken, and help people see us as a human race in a different light. While I got all these cameras on me and I'm in a room full of people who are listening and who will go back to their respective media outlets and share this with the world, I want to tell everyone that has their eyes on me that I love you, no matter what race you're from, no matter where you come from, no matter what gang you're from or what police force you stand for, what badge you put on, what school you teach, whoever you are in the world, if you are a human being and you have ears and eyes to see, this is a day of change. Respect it, understand it, love it, embrace yourself with positivity.
Snoop, you want to say that? Yes, sir. Snoop Dogg.
First of all, I want to thank the mayor and the chief for allowing us to even come behind closed doors to hold a conversation with them. Our whole mission today was to move in peace and to show that LA can be unified, and not to bash the police, but to come up here and get some dialogue and some communication, because we're all angels, like he said. We all from Los Angeles, we all represent the same cause, and we all want to go home to our families. So today was the first step to many steps. We are here to show love and support to the police force in Los Angeles and get some understanding and some communication. And we feel like this is a great start. We want to thank them for letting us come into this situation today. We didn't know they were going to be graduating students, but this is even better, because now these students that are about to hit the streets can know that there is some sort of dialogue going on, and they don't have to be fearful, and they can do their jobs and know that when you stop somebody, you're a conversation away from sending them home or taking them to jail, but the conversation is key. So thank y'all for allowing us to have conversation, and we love y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Snoop. I want to thank in the Nation of Islam as well for their presence and the part of the dialogue that they'll be, both Tony Muhammad here locally as well as Minister Farrakhan. We want to thank folks as well. The law enforcement community, I want to say just briefly, I've reached out to my counterpart, Mayor Rawlings in Dallas, who was beautiful and articulate and encapsulated so much of the pain, not just of his city, but of this country right now. And to the police chief in Dallas, Charlie Beck's counterpart, who spoke powerfully about this moment and what it means. And our hearts are with the law enforcement community throughout this country, with our brothers and sisters in Dallas, and with those, both civilian and police, who are recovering from the violence of yesterday and the ongoing violence that sometimes never makes the headlines at all, both of officers and of civilians who go forward without hardly a mention. With that, and be happy to answer some questions.
The big problem still exists, Chief. I mean, all this is long. The reality is the mood out there, the weapons, the AK-47s, what happened last night in Dallas, almost like an ambush attack, a sneak attack. The LAPD prepared for all of that. I mean, how do you combat so many people carrying such high-powered weapons around the streets?
Okay. As the chief comes forward, let me just tell one thing. This city is a safe city right now. I want people to know that and to feel that. There was no tactical alert. People wondered, will there be chaos and violence that breaks out? Los Angeles is not only ready, in terms of our police force, I think in terms of our human force. We're a resilient city that understands, because this isn't our first dance, this isn't our first trip to the rodeo. We understand how to de-escalate and how to talk in moments like this through our pain. I'm happy to have the chief talk specifically about any preparations, but I don't want to play into that frame that suddenly violence is about to break out and don't worry, we're well armed and we're ready to deal with it. Of course, we have a professional police force that is well equipped, has the technology and the training we need, but this comes down to human decisions even more powerfully than that. But Chief, okay, go ahead. I'll come back, I'll say it in Spanish.
I think the real question, Chief, is could it happen here?
Well, part of before you today is want to stop it from happening here. That's exactly the point of this press conference, is to say that LA is not about violence, that the police department in LA is not about violence, that these entertainment moguls that stand with me here, who represent a huge swath of Los Angeles, are not about violence. And that we want to use our leadership positions, mine as police chief, the mayor is the mayor of the city of Los Angeles, to say that. And that in and of itself will promote nonviolence. And we all have to recognize that what has gone before is not what has to follow after. We don't have to relive this. We don't have to watch this happen over and over again. You know, I say this all the time. This is about empathy. The empathy for a police officer to understand that somebody that grew up in a gang neighborhood has different motivations than you did when you grew up, and different realities in their life. And the need for a young person that gets stopped by the police to recognize that in today's climate, given what happened yesterday, the officers are going to be on edge as they approach the car. And we all have to know that. We all have to live in each other's skin, to recognize that all of us have challenges, and to acknowledge those through our own actions. And so that's exactly why we're talking here, Dave. Yeah, the mayor is absolutely right. Best police department in the nation. You know, we're well equipped, well trained. We can respond to crimes of violence, no matter what the size and scale. But what we want to do is not that. What we want to do is prevent that. You know, if it was up to me, this gun would never leave the holster, and it would just be a symbol.
I'll say very, very briefly in Spanish for you. Este no es un problema de la seguridad. Tenemos un departamento que está lista por una amenaza, por cualquier acciones tendremos en la ciudad de Los Ángeles. Es un problema de la humanidad, encontrar en nuestras acciones y en nuestros corazones un espacio en común. Esta es la visión de este departamento y es mi visión y la visión de mis amigos aquí. No a tener oficiales del departamento a responder a violencia en el futuro, pero a prevenir la violencia en la ciudad.
In light of what's happening today, I see that you guys are trying to do like a preventative measure. So is there going to be a meeting or
Yes.
a community thing where anybody who has an organization, anybody that has maybe solutions to the problem can all meet at a particular time before we get into something that's going to be violent?
Yes, we've done the first and we've already committed to following up next week and continuing to widen that circle. And it's not a new circle. I want to be very clear. We have two missions. One is not just to prevent violence. As we all said in there, what if we get mission accomplished a week or two later? We don't want to stop the mission that we've been on long before. We've seen these acts of hatred and of assassination. Yeah.
Is there going to be any information given? So say if I have an organization, I'm a part of the community,
Yep.
where can I get this information?
We will make sure that that is shared, and we already talked about launching a public dialogue as well as the ongoing conversations that we started here today with individuals. We want it to be about not just words, and you know, I think after the 1992 unrest, a lot of people did a lot of talking, but it wasn't until we found common action, until truces were made, until parks were built, until jobs were found, that the actions move forward. And so our agenda, as we talked about, was much wider than just preventing violence for a moment. We need that. That is urgent, and that is today. But tomorrow it is about a much broader agenda. It's about a promise zone that's starting up in South Los Angeles. It's about 15,000 youth jobs, which triples the number that we've had in the city of LA for young people in our poorest neighborhoods. So during the summer they can earn some money, they can contribute to their household instead of doing something wrong. It's about our grid programs and our Saturday Night Light programs, which keep our parks open till midnight. So there is a place of peace for us in our communities close to where we live. That is the agenda that we're going to continue marching on. And I'm so glad to have new partners in that as well today. Other questions?
Chief, this is a question for the chief,
Sure.
and I'm hoping Snoop or the game can answer too. This has been a very intense week for a lot of people, I think. Can you walk me through the emotions you felt last night watching what happened in Dallas, the emotions you felt after seeing the videos earlier in the week in Minnesota and Baton Rouge, to this moment, and how those compared? I can't imagine any of you thought you would ever be in that room meeting today after such an intense week. What have the emotions been like for you, Chief?
Well, you know, one of the things that we all talked about in our meeting just prior to this press conference was how similar our reactions were. You know, the game and Snoop and Problem, they felt rage when they saw the police shooting videos. And, you know, as a longtime police officer, I said, well, you know, a lot of questions on these shootings. Obviously, there's, you know, these things, there's a lot of missing information, a lot of questions. But then, of course, when I saw the shootings last night, you know, I'm full of rage. You know, and I'm an old man. I don't get angry easy, but I was angry. I was full of rage. But then, just like they did, as I thought about it, I came to the realization that this cannot continue. We cannot continue to break into camps. We cannot continue to go to our corners and come out fighting. We cannot continue to be broken up into tribes, whether it's Bloods and Crips or cops and civilians. We can't be about tribes. We got to be Americans. We got to be about together. We got to be about our children. We got to be about our city. We got to be about our country. And that's what I think this is all about. All of us want to come together. We are all furious about what has happened to this conversation, you know, and that there is no dialogue, that it is becoming a screaming contest from opposite sides of the room. It can't be that. You know, this is the way to solve problems, is to sit down, to look them in the eye and work it out. And that's what this group of men and women have committed to do, and that's what we are going to do, and we will broaden the circle, and we will bring more Angelinos in, but it's got to be about dialogue. It cannot be about screaming, shouting, and monopolizing. It has to be about sharing information, sharing pain, and moving forward together, not separate.
Hold on. I think the question, yeah, again, you want to go?
Please address that question too. The emotions you felt after seeing the videos earlier this week, coupled with the emotions you feel today.
Just given the order that the events took place in, hearing about what happened with Dalron and on the East Coast, and then hearing and watching what happened to Alton Sterling, and then the very next day seeing another video that was just of catastrophic proportion, I was torn. Number one, as an African American, because I am African American, not because it's African Americans against the world. It's because I embody who I am, and that hurt me. That really, really hurt me. And my son asked me, why would, police do that to a man? And I had to answer. And I had to answer in a way where he would still trust and he would still believe in the police force. And I did. And that was my job as a parent. And I was torn. And I could have answered the way that I felt, but I didn't, because that's my child. And I don't want him walking out here thinking that every police officer is out to get him, because I know that that's not true. Then, being as angry as I was, and I was angry, really angry, sitting on my couch, I couldn't rest, I couldn't sleep. Something was bothering me because I wanted to rage, I wanted to do something, but I know that that's not the right thing to do. So I battled with myself. And then out of nowhere on the news, 5 police are ambushed by Lord knows who and what, and they died, and others were injured. And I felt that pain as well. And I was saddened that that happened as a result of what took place earlier in the week. And I had to remove myself from my stance that I had on Monday and put myself into the shoes of a person who wasn't going to get that family member back at the end of the day. And I was saddened even more. And then I took those police uniforms off of those police officers that met an untimely demise last night, and I turned them into what they really are before they put them on. And those are human beings, like me and everyone standing here and everyone on the opposite side of this podium. And when I did that, I came to a realization that we are really, really destroying humanity as individuals. And if you would like to take responsibility as I am and the people are here are, we're doing it as a whole. And if we don't stop, then one by one, our lives will dwindle away along with our families and our children's. So if you love your lives and you love your families as much as I love mine, try to think about mine as much as I think about yours. And let's try to save each other's lives before the world ends right before our eyes. And I know there's a lot of us and there's billions of people out here, and it's hard to fathom that one day we could meet our end. But if we don't stop killing ourselves, for sure, it's gonna come one day for all of us, if not us, our family. And when I say our family, I mean our families. So think about yours while I think about mine, and let's think about each other's, and let's keep it going.
Chief Beck, question. Will there be any groups that will not be allowed to, like Black Lives Matter, that will not be allowed to attend this dialogue?
You know, anybody that is willing to dialogue can attend, but it has to be a dialogue. And a dialogue takes people talking to each other, not at each other. So anybody that's willing to have a conversation and then take positive action from that conversation, because this group is all about positive action. This group is not about placing blame. This group is about moving forward and not turning tomorrow into yesterday.
How will they access this group?
You know, we are going to give
That's to be determined.
Yeah.
This is very, very fresh from this meeting. We've just talked about it, but we'll make sure we share those details.
Last question. Last question.
Any practical,
Last question.
we haven't had any, heard anything about practical steps that you may be asking for to further secure your officers. Anything else you are willing to?
Well, one of the, you know, first of all, I think that my officers are safe in the field. They are well equipped, well trained, well deployed, just like they are every other day. You know, I have ordered that captains, my area captains, go to every roll call and to have a conversation with their police officers to talk about the things that we're talking about. That, you know, just as we don't want to be tainted by what happened in a faraway small town police department, you know, the Los Angeles Police Department doesn't want to be tainted by that. You shouldn't hold against anybody that you come in contact with something that happened 3 states away in Texas. You know, you can't have it both ways. You can't expect to be treated for what you are and for what you represent if you don't treat people for what they are. And so that's very important. And I'll also do a video that will go out to all the officers that will talk about the need for, you know, to treat people with respect. We demand respect. We demand that you treat people with respect. And that's all very important.
You seem deeply affected by this, Chief. I've known you for a while. You seem very, very moved by this.
Well, you know, it's a long time coming. You know, this national conversation about policing, I take very personally. You know, I have spent my entire life, adult life, being a Los Angeles police officer, and I spent the last 15 years trying to reform the Los Angeles Police Department. And, you know, and we've made great progress, especially under Mayor Garcetti and Commission President Johnson, we've made great progress. And to see all that be diminished by what's happening halfway across the country does anger me. And then the tragedy that has unfolded over this past week. You know, seeing yet again shootings that bring to the community focus policing. And then to see this unprecedented tragedy in Dallas where an assassin, and that is all that person can be called, attacks people that are actually defending the First Amendment. You know, they are actually, those police officers are there, not necessarily because they agree with the cause, but because they agree with your ability to express your opinion and your cause. And they are struck down for that. And that is a crime against America. So, yeah, it does upset me. Yeah.
What do you say to your followers, people that like your music that now are upset with some police elements around the country? What do you tell them? What's the message for them?
This is what we're doing, right? We never had communication with police, and we're trying to start a whole new beginning by getting that dialogue and that communication. And the best thing you can do is seek for information and seek for communication, because you can't match hate with hate. You got to match hate with love, and that's what we came for today in a love offering, to sit down and have some dialogue. Like the chief said, we were talking to him and hearing and listening and trying to find a better way to bridge the gap between us and them, because we all need each other. And that's my suggestion. Communication is key.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. I get you official police ID. Thank you. Thank you much.
I appreciate it.
Can't wait till Tuesday.
Hopefully I get him.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Love you, Chief.
All right. No problem. Appreciate it.
What's up, girl?
There ain't no hope. Peace to you, man. Stay up.
Crowd came down, but it's a lot of more young people. The sun is out, we got water for people.
Just in case you lose one card.